Welcome back to the morning show. It's TMS on a Tuesday. Our theme that we carry every Tuesday is that of African spirituality. And without any fail, Ubabu Siyam Kiza joins us this morning. He is our African spirituality advisor. And of course, right? We are talking about building a home and how you should build your homestead. Like I said in the beginning of the show, the line is very thin at times, but the difference is huge, and that's why we've got Usiya here. And I guess that we could start the conversation right there. Thokoza, just with the broader view, right? What are we saying? Ngwaka Ikhaya, Nogwaka umuzi, the homestead.
So kune Ikhaya, which is your own home, right? And then there's igin, which is all, for simpler terms, Ikhaya el-Khulu, right? The main homestead. Okay.
This is where you were born, your parents' house.
This would be essentially your headquarters, if you want to call it that, right? This is where imsebenzi would be done, African rituals, African culture would be done. If anybody loses their own home, then they can move back home. When they say I'm moving back home, they can move here. If we're going to bury family members, this thing of having amatuna and having grave sites, we shouldn't have that. We should be burying our loved ones corner la. Ekhaya, where you have this baya khona lapho, and then you have ugogo nomkhulu nokhokho balele lapha ekhoneni, right? That's what we should be having.
Yeah.
So the difficulty now with a lot of young people is that because of the history of the country, a lot of us are first timers, right? So we've bought our own properties, but we don't actually have homesteads. We don't have Ikhaya el-Khulu.
Right.
So I always say to people, it doesn't make sense for you to have a 4- or 5-bedroom house in Sandton, but you want to buy another holiday house in Zimbali, but you don't have Ikhaya el-Khulu, igin. Right. What you need to focus on is bringing back umlando wasekhaya and bringing back the land and the cattle and the chicken and everything else that your family had in their generation. That is why so many people, when they become wealthy and they become successful, izinto zishona phansi. Not because ababongi, not because bayatagata, but because they don't understand that the wealth has been given to them to bring back the homestead which was lost.
But now, where do you even start, Mkhulu? Because I've seen a lot of people even speaking and having these conversations on socials, right? Uguti, yes, sengakhile, and I've got a holiday home in Cape Town, mhlambe kuphi kuphi. Kodwa ukwakha i-homestead or Ikhaya el-Khulu, ubani ozohlala lapho if I'm based in Joburg or if I'm based in Cape Town? You know, in terms of residency, who should now be looking after that headquarters?
So,
for instance, like I'll use myself as an example. If it's just me and my brother and my sisters, you know, our parents nabo bahlala endaweni zabo. So if I take it upon myself to now go build this homestead,
so it's a collective responsibility for all of you to look after that place financially, right? But if you know that no one's going to be there full time because you're working in Joburg and so on and so forth, then you can hire someone to stay there who looks after the grounds, whether it be a security guard who's also going to be / gardener, and tend to the actual place and say, okay, William, local is broken, we need this. There's nothing wrong with having somebody that you're paying to stay there and look after the place. If you don't actually have someone there, it's also okay, because idlozi understands ukuthi umsebenzi useGoli but Ikhaya is eNatal. Does idlozi change their minds? Yes, sometimes they do. Right? It can happen where, but I know one of you needs to stay there. But usually what I find in my personal and professional experience is that transition is usually, it's actually gradual, and idlozi kind of shepherds you into it. Now where your inclination for the big suburb and the Joburg jungle, it changes, and you start to want a more quiet and peaceful and serene environment, such as Ikhaya Maplazin. You know, and then by the time they tell you to go there, emotionally and spiritually, you're already ready for that transition or that change.
You've been preparing for it for a good 10 years or so.
Idlozi always prepares you before they make you do something, right? And a lot of times people say, no, idlozi is forcing me to do this, or it's like, no, idlozi doesn't shock you into anything, right? The only shock is that you've been in denial about actually feeling the change inside of you. That's the only shock factor that comes in. But idlozi always does shepherd us slowly towards that.
And obviously, I want to invite you as our morning show viewer, Namhlanje Kuseni, to take part in this very important conversation because we find ourselves talking about these things and there's a lot of misinformation as well. And abanye bagnikeze mhlambe advice, if you will, because you're asking for it. Kodwa bagnikeze advice wrong. So let us know what it is you would like Ubaba Mkhize to assist you with or perhaps clarify in that instant right now on 072 411 6528, where we're talking about the headquarters, right? Which surname should be used to now, you know, ukubika lo muzi lo ukuthi okay la kusekhaya kusendlunkulu.
Okay. So if mina as umuntu wesilisa, because I was born in perfect wedlock, the only surname I can introduce Ikhaya.
Yeah.
Mkhize.
Okay.
Right? In the event you are a woman, right? What the surname you would introduce is the one that you were born with. Okay, which would be isibongo sakho zalwa naso. Right? If you are married, now assuming it's perfect wedlock, the only surname that we can introduce is isibongo sami. Because ngithi ngithatha unkosikazi ngimngenisa kwaMkhize.
Yes.
Right? Therefore sizofaka idlozi likaMkhize.
Right.
Okay? In the event umlanjwana, where you were conceived out of wedlock. Right? You should be going back to you should be using your mother's maiden surname. Right. So as umlanjwana, you need to first clarify ukuthi which surname are you going to be completely in, right? And then that will be the surname you go into. Okay. Those that are born where only ilobolo was paid. Right? Kumele ukuthi uyixazulule lo mbango. You must either go back to your mother's maiden surname, ufaka lo idlozi, or your father's side of the family bageze bakwenzela imbeleko bakufaka kahle edlozini labo and then ungafaka idlozi lika baba wakho. Right? And you can't faka two dlozis in one place.
Right, and that's where a lot of people get it confused, right? That whole surname thing, especially with kids whose parents have separated, and you know, there's that argument, and we've had this conversation before of, you know, this one wants to keep the father's surname, and then the mom feels like, no, but this is my child, this child should use my surname, as it were.
It does
so you
get
can't
a bit
have
tricky.
both surnames. No.
Ukhetha isibongo ngithi mhlambe awuthi ngichaze nje kancane. The process of ukufaka idlozi ekhaya. Okay, let me start here. Kunomehluko between ukufaka idlozi nokubika umuzi.
Yes.
People are getting it confused. Your first property ufaka idlozi. Your second property, i.e. your holiday home or your rental property, whatever the case may be, uyawubika umuzi. Right? Both procedures do not require a traditional healer. Any healer telling you ukuthi uyangidinga ngikusize badlala ngawo, right? You are throwing money down the drain by giving healer money to ukufakela idlozi ngoba uzokufakela kanjani idlozi likaMkhize wena ungakwamkhize, right? Number 3, you do not need to ulikhipha idlozi uligeze and then put it back in. Cha. Always 4. Le ndaba ukuthi idlozi alikho lihambile, nonsense as well, right? Idlozi is in your blood. Mina mangibiza bakaMkhize ngithi ngiyabafaka bazongena nje kahle. Right? Ukufaka idlozi. There are 2 scenarios. One where you have Ikhaya elikhulu and one where you do not. Okay. Right? If you have Ikhaya elikhulu, you slaughter something with Ikhaya elikhulu, wozani ngizonifaka. Then you slaughter something at your property in Sandton. Okay?
I get you.
Done. Finished. No healer needed. Ukubika umuzi, right? You go straight to that new property in Zimbali. Bandabadala, nangu muska William Westbill. Genan, done, finished. Where's the healer needed?
It sounds so simple. What is confusing you? You can let us know on 072 411 6528. We take a quick ad break. We'll keep our African spirituality advisor, Umkhulu Mkhize, with us to answer your voice notes next. 26 after 7, it's the morning show here on ETV. If you've just joined us, welcome to TMS. We've got Umkhulu Mkhize. We're talking about ukufakwa kwedlozi ekhayeni elikhulu. How does it work? What is the impact it has in your life? If these are your questions as well, feel free to send across a voice note. Our number's at the bottom of your screen. It's 072 411 6528. And obviously, Umkhulu Mkhize, there's a lot that people have been misinformed about, right? Because you used examples of, obviously, now that you've attained the wealth, how do you now make sure that uyawubika umuzi, uyalfaka idlozi? It sounds like the same thing, but it really isn't.
No, not at all. It's 2 different things. Yeah. And let's assume, fine, most of you watching this are probably going to be in a position where siyabonga asinalo ikhaya elikhulu. What do we do? And I live in Sandton, right? Faka idlozi where you are staying now in Sandton.
Okay.
Buy 2 goats or 2 sheep, whichever one your culture uses, 1 male, 1 female, izalukwazi namakhehla, ogogo nomkhulu, right?
Right.
Usuyobafaka ke lapho uzothi no bantu abadala nali ikhaya elisha.
Yes.
Right? Kodwa, for now, this is your home. But I'm going to buy a plot where there's land and I'm going to build properly. But for now, ngenan la ikhaya. Right? So once you have put them into that home that you stay in Sandton, you can then make plans and preparations, maybe buying a plot somewhere and then building there.
Yeah.
Right? That process of ukufaka abantu abadala where you don't have a homestead, you'll start inside, you've got your 2 goats, right?
Yeah.
Bantu abadala, imini usiyabonga okhulumayo. Unfortunately, kwalahleka umhlaba la ekhaya.
Right.
Therefore, okwamanje ngicela ukunifaka la in Sandton. Ngicela ningilinde esangweni khona ngizonifaka kahle.
Right.
Okay? Then you would go to esangweni uphahla.
Okay.
Usiyabangenisa ke manje. Usiyazidonsa ke lembuzi ungena futhi emsamo. Uphahla kwesithathu manje.
Yeah.
Okay? Uyanquma ke imbuzi kudliwe. That's it.
And let's explain this because we're running out of time and I'd like us to continue this discussion after news. You wouldn't necessarily use chickens for lo msebenzi ngoba umsebenzi omkhulu, right?
You can't use chickens.
Right.
If you want to use chickens because you can't afford anything else, chickens are just the temporary solution.
Okay.
Right? Isibambisi, you can say bantu abadala okwamanje nako okuncane nginginikeza kona. Right? But awukwazi ukubafaka with the chicken. Mawufaka idlozi. The same if you're going to collect someone ngomlahlankosi somewhere and then uzofaka ekhaya.
Yeah.
You use a goat or a sheep. It needs to be a 4-legged animal.
I get you. Listen, we're going to continue this conversation with our African spirituality advisor, Mkiza, who's with us this morning. We're talking about the difference and the building of the home and the homestead. All of it live here on ETV. News is next with Nelly Suemape. A warm welcome back. It's 19 before 8. It's the African spirituality theme of TMS here on ETV. If you've just joined us, we are in the second hour. We've got our spiritual advisor, Mkiza, and he's here to unpack the difference that exists or that has to happen when you are building a home and a homestead, umuzi nekhaya elikhulu, what that actually means and the impact it has on your life. We've asked you for your voice notes. I imagine you have a lot of questions for Mkiza namhlanje. Let's roll the first one, please.
Thokoza. Excuse me. Ngithi mangibuzela, what happens if you as a sibling, nama siblings wakantolana about these things because of religion, you know? And personally, I'm on the verge of trying to reset and start somewhere. Ngiyokumuzi kababa because la ngikhona Yesu kusekhaya kodwa asiboni ngasolinye and ngiyazi ukuthi umsindo awufuneki. So I've got it in my mind la ngazi uma ngiphiwa abantu abadala ukuthi umuzi kababa ngizowenza i-headquarters njengoba nisho uma sengakhile emzini lapho ngiyakhona. Please advise. Thokoza.
And we have had this conversation before, Mkulusia, if you remember, when we were talking about issues of izibongo, ukuthi kufakwa liphi idlozi, emsamo, etc. And people would often say, well, us as siblings, we don't get along. So who should take it upon themselves to now lead the way and do the right thing?
So he says, it's interesting, he says for religious purposes, right? My opinion is we can't waste time with people who don't believe, right? If you don't believe in lento, then it's fine.
Right.
I would say get the siblings who do believe, sit them down at a table and say, guys, look, this is what we would need to do for all of us, for all our children and our grandchildren. Right. If someone doesn't believe, then quite frankly, I'm not going to waste my time trying to believe you. Life is long.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope that sooner or later you'll come around. And if you never come around, maybe I can get through to one of your kids one day. But as I've said before, izinto zengane yakho mazibheda uzijika izinto mina uzomtshela ukuthi uma wakhe benenkani kanje yabo. So that's the best course of action, right? Get together with those that do believe, okay, and get it done. In the event everybody's like no minangle, haike, then he sounds like a male. Then yenage, if he's the eldest male, angashisa impepho akhuluma nedlozi athi bantu abadala ngicela ninginikeze imvumo yokuqhubeka phambili nalomsebenzi wokubuyisa umuzi wasekhaya.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I would pasha about it first because idlozi must understand ukuthi no, the siblings are not partaking in this exercise. But he can only do that process of skipping protocol if he's made attempts to talk to his siblings and get them around the table.
And you know, the assistance or the commitment, if you will, wasn't forthcoming from the other members of the family. Let's talk about that issue of Shisimpepe, because that's also quite important, right? Who's allowed or who is given that responsibility of Shisimpepe?
So the first option is always the eldest male in the family, right? Remember, these protocols were come from an era where men were present fathers. Ubaba wasekhaya would always be there. Inhloko yasekhaya would be there.
Right.
Right? Is that the situation in South Africa currently? No. Most of the families, there's only women, or the man that is in the family is very young, or too young. Okay.
Right.
In that instance, umama or ugogo, right, angashisa impepho acele edlozini achaza ukuthi bantu abadala kumele siwenze lo msebenzi. Ngiyazi ukuthi it's not usually protocol ukuthi umuntu esifazana ashisa impepho, kodwa sengiyangicela ke manje ukuthi ningivumele ngikhulume.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. And then akhulume yena umama. There's no problem with a woman burning impepho if inhloko yasekhaya ayikho, because there are assumptions which the culture was based on. If the assumptions do not suit your reality, right, then don't be bound by that. If umsebenzi needs to be done, it needs to be done. And also, there's probably a reason why spiritually there's no ubaba wasekhaya akekho.
Right, I get you. Let's roll the next voice note, please.
Sanibonani, molo bhuti, ngicela ubuze ke ngoku. Maningi abantwana bedlozi nobayi-2. Indumba niyazifaka or indumba enye kwi-homestead?
All right. That one is very clear and straightforward.
Yeah, very clear and straightforward. So she's saying that she's got 2 spiritually gifted children, and on the homestead, bayayifaka indumba.
Yeah.
Right? If so in ukufaka indumba, obviously you need to pasha about it qala uthola imvumo from idlozi.
Yeah.
Right? Okwesibili, we need to establish qala if there is a need for indumba. You see, because nanje I always say to people, contrary to popular belief, ancestors actually don't want more indumbas. Right?
Really?
This na indumba yako.
Yeah.
This is indumba yako, right?
Yes.
You're working, you're healing through TV. So why do you go and need indumba? That's why so many young healers are struggling after initiation, because they think ukuthi, as soon as I graduate, I need to have indumba. When they don't realize ukuthi, if you're a doctor, your indumba is the operation room.
Right.
If you're an engineer, right, your indumba is the train tracks. If you're a teacher, your indumba is the classroom. You see, so kwesinye isikhathi before ufaka indumba zombili, you need to assess, is there a need for lengane to have indumba? You see?
Yeah, it's not necessarily or automatically a prerequisite, and there might not be a need for it in the bigger picture.
Not that there's a need for it. Idlozi ding indumba. That's why kwesinye isikhathi uzama ukuhlanganisa indumba akuhlangani. Okwesinye isikhathi indumba falls apart or iyasha indumba. And then it was like ubani othe akale indumba ngoba you've already got indumba.
That is so important, and I feel it needs its own time. We're going to talk about that next time. Let's roll the next voice note, please.
Morning, guys. Guys, this is an interesting topic, right? And Usia is actually hitting on something. I've been thinking of having a space for me and cousins. Now we all using different surnames, but sisonke sidityaniswa by isduko esinye, which is amakwambe, which is our grandmother. So now ufaka idlozi endlini, would that be idlozi emasebenze nalo, and how do we do it?
And we see this too often with a lot of families.
No. You know what? Before ufaki, okay. Yena, he needs to pick a surname. If yena nesduko sakhe athi okay fine, mina ukamkhize.
Yeah.
Okay? Uzofaka idlozi lamkhize in this homestead. Right? If he wants his cousins to also have access to this homestead, to also be able to practice rituals at this homestead, he must use this homestead ukubangenisa bonke. Lo athola imbeleko angene, lo athola imbeleko angene kamkhize, lo athola imbeleko angene kamkhize. So what he must do, if yena wakamkhize
Yeah.
faka idlozi likamkhize.
Yeah.
Then nonke abangenise one by one ngembuzi
Right.
okanye igusha.
Ngoba
Right?
bayigazi namatamba like Ikhaya, right?
Exactly.
Although they've got different surnames.
But uthe wahlukanisa from generation kagogo.
Yes.
Right? Then he must use lesibongo sikamkhize as a place okubangenisa all of them one by one. Abangenisa. Then eventually you have a homestead where everybody owakamkhize.
I get you. That's very clear. And I hope it is very helpful for you, my brother. Thank you so much for sending through your voice notes. I believe we've got one more. Let's roll it.
Morning show, morning. Mina nginombuzo kubaba umkhize. So what if mangizale ngitholakale ukuthi ngikhulele koboma, ngisebenzisa isibongo sakwaboma. So sengiwutholile umuzi. So ngiyenza kanjani lapho kuleyo ndawo? Ngiyenza kanjani?
Yeah, she's asking, obviously she was born at home, she's using her mom's surname, and now she's married and would like to build a homestead for Gubo.
Oh, that's not a problem, right? Mhlambe she has a brother or a cousin, okay?
Yeah.
She can help that cousin financially, right? Ati fine, Nancy plot, I teng leyo plot.
Okay.
Then that elder male cousin or whomever, kuba yena ofaka idlozi. Because yena useshadile ngithi.
Yes, usengene kwesinye isibongo
Exactly. So akakwazi ukulifaka idlozi, but she can help buy it and like financially she can help bring it together.
Right.
But then the cousin will be the one responsible for that land in terms of ukufaka idlozi or whatever the case may be. It's possible ukuthi ubushadile la, but then uboyisa umlando wasekhaya and stuff like it's very easy to do that.
Yeah.
You just financially assist, but then you tell the family ukuthi okay fine senzoyifaka ke idlozi khona lapho nenza izinto zesiko nesinto khona lapho. Kwathi ngizonisiza ngokwemali.
I like how simplistic you've just put it, because at times Nathi says bedisi izinto because we overcomplicate it within the process and not understanding the methods.
And I think it's so important as young black men and women that angikwazi mina ukuphila njengomkhize ikhaya likhona, but you know your wife's family ikhaya alikho or it's falling apart.
Right.
You know, it's very important ukuvusa umuzi wobabili, because by bringing up both homesteads, that's how you truly create generational wealth. And that's why we're struggling so much with generational wealth. Since you know when usungenile kamkhize thina say right kamkhize ukhohle ukuthi no kunenhlanhla that also needs to come through from your wife's side of the family.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Listen, thank you so much for your time.
Bonga mina baba.
Umkhulu Siyamkhize joins us every Tuesday here on TMS on the African spirituality theme, and we talk about all manner of things concerning your spirituality. We'll take a quick ad break. We'll be back with lots more. Stay with us.